Hey guys, we're getting close to the holidays. I just thought I'd do a little video here between projects and some stuff that I've got going on to show you the advantages of five rail track. Now, basically, the five rail track is set up so that you can run standard gauge and O gauge is in the center there. But as luck would have it, you can also put one gauge on here, and believe it or not, from the center rail to the outside rail, either one of those on the O gauge track, S gauge will run on that. I don't have any S gauge, I don't collect it, but I know guys that do, and they've ran it on there. And to show you what I got here, there's standard gauge, there's O gauge, and here is one gauge. And what you've got is you can see it's got a spoon collector, and it sets, of course, to one side. That gives you the gauge. And I always set it to the inside because I'm afraid it's going to take a header off on the floor, and I don't exactly run it at 90 mile an hour either. But that spoon collector is wide enough to contact with the center rail and not short out on the other rail, the ground rail. So I can run my Bing. Most one gauge will run on this. It's best if they've got wheels that move, that have got slop. This particular engine runs very well on it. The Bing steam locomotive up there runs very well on it. The Bing electric does not. It gets tight in spots and it tries to crawl up over the rails. I've got a Markland one gauge that someone had converted to an American Outline. This thing is absolutely sweet. It runs on the five rail track. But if you don't want to do five rail track, then let me give you a relatively cheap alternative to having to buy one gauge track, vintage one gauge track. And what I did was, this is standard gauge track, okay? This is how regular standard gauge looks. It's these clips hold the rail down. Well, to make standard gauge go from standard gauge to one gauge, you peel these up and you slide this rail on the opposite side here, the two tabs. So that moves these in, and believe it or not, the scale is absolutely 100% excellent. I used to have one gauge track, and it would mate up with the one gauge track, but why be limited? That's a 57-inch radius. I could go to a 72-inch radius, and I could buy vintage one gauge crossovers, which would match with this if you wanted to do that, and even the switches will mix with it. This is not difficult. It's not even soldered down. This rail is, as you guys know, template rail is got a seam on the underneath side. It's all rolled and crimped together. Well, you just take a screwdriver and just slightly open that up and friction fit right down. Now, I have soldered some, but you can't solder ties with the black oxide on it unless you buff them all up. So I've got template ties that I've used. But it works. It works really, really well. We'll show you how the Bing handles this. It's not bad, but it gives me a little bit of versatility, and that's what we like. Besides, we want to see this stuff operate, and while that oval up there is neat, it's nice to be running it, all the way down through here. So let's see if it will operate flawlessly and not take a header off on the floor, something I always worry about. And I'll tell you what, I'm using a Lionel Z, and it takes a lot of power with the Z to run this 20-volt Bing. They suck a lot of juice. But it runs nicely. And now if I didn't give a damn, I could turn it wide open and just let it scream, but I'm afraid it'd go screaming off of the edge. But like, how neat is that, huh? It's very smooth. Now, I have got some 1-gauge cars that have got wheels that are staked to the axle. They do not, they work fine on this, on the straightaways. They don't work on the curves because those wheels are not allowed to flex. But just something for you to think about if you want to get out there and you want to run a different gauge or multi-gauges. It's easy. It's simple to do. It's relatively cheap. I buy new stuff. In fact, one outfit that I dealt with, I buy all the rails separately. I bought the rail separately. I bought there's O-gauge ties that you clip it to and holds everything down. But right now they're out of the O-gauge ties. But you can do it and you can have fun. Or if you want to go strictly authentic and make your own 1-gauge track, that's it. All right, guys. Have a good week. Enjoy this warm weather that we're having right now. We'll talk with you later. Toodaloo.